All right, on to ICAD number 18. I'm still working on a 3 by 5 inch index card. I am not going to change that. I have this beautiful fabric here. I will get some specific names if I can for you off the side there, off the information. And I am just sort of trimming but more ripping the fabric down to the size and shape of my ICAD. I really love distress and grunge, and I tear everything. So I tore that baby up, and then I sewed it directly to my ICAD. Now this little piece of paper, it's a vintage book text paper that I drew some lines on with a charcoal pencil, and then I covered it in gesso. Now this is something that I was just sort of playing with in the past, and I really loved it. So it kind of reminds me of like vintage ticking, but it's paper. And that's clear gesso, by the way. So when I added that gesso to the charcoal pencil, it kind of made it spread out a little bit, and it got a little fuzzy, and it's kind of vintagey and cool. So I love that. These are some butterfly wings that I designed for Viva Las Vegas stamps, and I decided that my little piece of paper needed some wings. So I used a Tim Holtz shaper. I think it's a shape, they call them shaper and movers, or movers and shapers, or something like that. But a little negative, basically, die cut. I cut out of that that now ticking paper, I guess I could call it. But I kept the heart because when I put the wings on, I knew I wanted to trim them down so that they look like they were behind the negative heart. So it's not super easy to do that unless you keep the positive shape. Then I can just trim the edge of the wings up along that heart. Super easy. And I'm kind of looking at it and trying them out and seeing, and then I decide that I want to tuck something into, I'm turning this ICAD into a pocket, by the way. I decided I wanted to tuck something into the pocket, and so I wanted to see what that heart would look like with the wings if the heart was colored or full. And then I decided that I cut the wings too small, so it's kind of hard to tell what they are, and they lose too much of their information, or they lose too much of themselves. So I decided to cut another set. Super easy. I already did it once. Totally got this down. And this time, instead of tracing the heart on the other side, I just traced the wing, trying to make everything as simple as possible. But sometimes goodness takes determination and layers, and sometimes you have to do things the hard way to make it look great. So that's what I'm doing, making my wings a little bit wider, but so that they'll still look like they're tucked behind that negative space. And because this is paper that I've sewn onto the fabric, I can just glue the paper to the paper with the Yoo-hoo. So the paper wings to that vintage book text that I have, that I made the pocket out of. And when I put that paper on, I sewed it just like I did the fabric to the paper. So I have sewn paper, I've sewn fabric to paper and paper to fabric, and we've got some fun like stitches hanging off there. Now these tags that I'm playing with, they come from my 7 Dot Studio collection Dreamscapes that I designed, and the tags, I designed the tags and they're die cut, and they come in a big 12 by 12 sheet, and you get a few of them to play with, 2 different sizes. And so I kind of just played with what I thought would look good behind that heart, and then I trimmed it down by 1 inch so that I wasn't missing all the beautiful fabric that I had sewn in the background. So the tag is now a little bit shorter. I have put it into the pocket exactly where it will go, and then I used my Posca paint marker to outline the heart on the inside, but with some dots. So you can check that out in the close-up photographs, either at the beginning or end of the video, or on my blog. I did just punch a hole in the tag. These tags do not come with holes in them. And then I ran some Sari ribbon through it. Now I'm going to kind of play with the actual tag a little bit, and I'll go back and forth between the tag and the pocket. But I really love how this whole piece turned out. I have outlined that heart with Stabilo and activated that with water. Now the thing I have to keep in mind, and that I guess I'm saying, like, keep this in mind, is that the tag is paper based and it has nothing else on it. So if you add a bunch of water to it, it's going to get all warbly. So keep your water use to a minimum, or I kept my water use to a minimum. And then I got out the new set of stamps that I designed for Viva Las Vegas stamps. It's a bunch of marks for mark making, and I used the heart, the positive of the heart, as a mask so that I didn't get any of the stamp in the heart. And then I just stamped that cool like cross hatching sort of crosses background. And I'm going to scrape some gesso because I love it, and it grunges everything up and distresses it, but in a brighter way, if that makes sense. It's kind of fun. And then I added a little bit of water to my gesso, and I'm splattering around, and I'm also splattering the Sari ribbon that I tied the tag with, and then I am splattering the pocket itself as well. Kind of keeps everything cohesive, and it all reads really well together. I did decide that I wanted some more of those crosses on my pocket, or on my tag, so I put a few more of those in there. And I love it. It's really fun. I love how this one turned out. I have not been disappointed really by any of them yet. There's one that I don't really like that much, and there's another tip right there. I keep tucking my tag back into the pocket to see how things are lining up and if I'm liking it. And because I was trying to keep a bit of the tag a surprise, so you couldn't see everything on the tag until you pull it out, and then that just makes it interactive and fun. And then I had this vintage book text that said that was her particular sort of glamour. And then the words that went with it were her magical beauty. So there's a little foreshadowing. You'll see that coming up on the next ICAD. And then I decided that I could just glue that down with Yoo-Hoo and be done with that part. And I got out my Stabilo Marks All because I love it and you love it and we all love it. And I outlined the heart and the wings to add a little bit of shadow to them. Not a lot, but I felt like it was kind of reading a little bit one-toned on the pocket. So this added just a little bit more depth, especially in addition to the gesso splatters that were already there. Heating everything to make sure that it's all dry and permanent and I can kind of move on. Oh, I say permanent, but don't forget that Stabilo Marks All is never permanent unless it's been sealed and or done with a clear gesso. And then now back to the Sari ribbon that's at the top. Even though it itself is recycled and kind of distressed and I had already done the gesso splatters on it, I felt like it wasn't really grungy enough. It kind of looked a little too new at the top of the tag. So it's really easy. I just scribbled some Stabilo on my paper, and I did scribble it directly on the paper because when I add water to that, then it will just soak into the paper. But I put it right on top of just the gesso that's left over there because now that acts as a barrier and it's kind of like a miniature palette. I added some water to that, and then I kind of distressed all around, mostly on the Sari ribbon, but also on the tag itself. Alright, so that's it for this one. ICAD number 18 in the bag. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out these close-up shots, and then please feel free to subscribe to me to see any other mixed media tips, tricks, and techniques that I'll be coming out with. And check out my other videos. You can find me on the web in all kinds of places, and all those links are in the description of this video. Also, there is a supply list, and you can visit my blog to see pictures of all the supplies and things like that. All right? Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you really soon with that next ICAD. Bye.